I'm going to rank all 115 Simpsons Treehouse of Horror Halloween special segments. These episodes have become one of the most iconic parts of The Simpsons' almost 40-year run. Beginning in 1990, there has since been 36 episodes with 3 segments in each, most of which parody a famous scary movie, plus 2 episodes with 3 segments, not labeled Treehouse of Horror, but they are, and 1 full-length episode focusing on an It parody. I'm ranking all of those, but none of the 20-plus comics, just what's on the screen. I'm purely ranking on how good the segment was, not how good it adapted the source material. For most of these, I haven't even seen the source material, so I couldn't do that if I wanted. My list might offend you, so here we go. Treehouse of Horror 1, the intro. Marge talks to the audience, warning them of the content they're about to see, and I guess this was a legitimate warning to parents, but in later years it becomes a joke, because no one actually listens. Then it shows Bart and Lisa telling these stories up in the treehouse. I'm not going to talk about every intro, and I'm not going to rank them, but I do like the earlier intros where Marge talks to the audience. Bad Dream House. The Simpsons move into a haunted house, and it tries to possess, scare, and kill them. The cause is an ancient Indian burial ground underneath. Marge demands the house and her family live amicably, but instead the house self-implodes. This was pretty average through and through, but the ending revealing Homer ignored the haunting for a good deal, and the house choosing death was a great ending. Overall, nothing jaw-dropping. Hungry Are the Damned. The first appearance to the iconic Kang and Kodos, who have become the mascots of Treehouse of Horror. They abduct the Simpsons to give them a life of luxury, but Lisa suspects they are going to be eaten, which isn't true. The Regellians dump them back on Earth and leave, with the family blaming Lisa. It was a great introduction to Kang and Kodos, and the plot was good. Nothing wrong with this one, but also not that much to note. Better than Bad Dream House. The Raven. A raven, which is Bart, bothers Homer and it drives him mad. Based on the Edgar Allan Poe poem. In the epilogue of the entire episode, real Homer is scared by the 3 stories told, and then is tormented by a raven. If you include the epilogue as part of this segment, it makes it a little better, but this isn't the best segment. It's funny, but worst of the 3 so far. Treehouse of Horror 2, The Monkey's Paw. Homer gets a monkey's paw that can grant 3 wishes, but there's always a twist to them. Lisa wishes for world peace, so Kang and Kodos seize the day and conquer Earth. Homer passes the handoff to Ned, where he saves the day and is lauded as a hero. The negative effects of the wishes were a little lackluster, but the jokes, the appearance of Kang and Kodos, and Ned's ending definitely made up for it. Second best so far. The Bart Zone. Bart has unexplained magical powers, and the whole town fears him as he can quite literally do anything to anyone. He turns Homer into a jack-in-the-box, and the jokes that came along with that were the highlight. But I feel like they didn't really do anything with his powers. It seemed like it focused more on everyone being fearful of him. Very underutilized plot. Better than the Raven, not as good as the others. If I Only Had a Brain. Mr. Burns and Smithers unknowingly implant Homer's brain into a robot Frankenstein, so this machine ends up being useless. It winds up crushing Mr. Burns, forcing Homer back to his body, and then Burns' head is attached to Homer's body. Homer wakes up from this nightmare and realizes Burns is actually attached to him, not a part of the anthology story. This was pretty great all the way through. Nothing groundbreaking, but honestly I think I would have liked this episode better if it was mostly about Burns being attached to Homer rather than the Frankenstein. Felt like there were more jokes to pull from that. Going below the Bart Zone. Treehouse of Horror 3. Clown Without Pity. Bart is gifted a cursed Krusty doll and it tries to kill Homer. This was fantastic. From Homer knowingly buying something evil, to the doll passing out, Homer running naked, it was evil simply because it was switched on evil, and then Homer enslaving the doll. They used this plot to the fullest extent. It was the funniest yet. I don't know where they could improve. Best so far. King Homer. Homer is King Kong. He falls in love with Marge, but Mr. Burns wants to capture him for profit. I like the aesthetic a lot for this one. King Homer climbing up a building like a foot and then getting too tired is one of the best jokes in all of the tree houses, but average as of the ones I've listed thus far. I'd say this and Monkey's Paw are interchangeable. Dial Z for Zombies. Bart and Lisa unleash a zombie apocalypse into Springfield. I love to see the Simpsons in this survival setting. Homer killing zombie Flanders, not realizing he was a zombie, was dark, but an amazing joke. And the zombies in the school being historical figures was a little out of place, because why would George Washington be in their school? But it makes the segment better, so who cares? This is even better than the Krusty doll. Best so far. Treehouse of Horror 4. The Devil and Homer Simpson. Homer sells his soul to the devil for a donut. The devil being Ned Flanders. Ned puts Homer on trial for his soul, which actually ends up being Marge's possession. The craziness and random elements of this episode, like the completely biased jury and Ned the devil, make it the epitome of Treehouse of Horror. Homer being force-fed donuts and his head turning into a donut are the best jokes in this episode. Above Hungry Are the Damned. Terror at 5.5 feet. A little gremlin rips apart the bus Bart is riding on, but no one believes him as it disappears when he shows someone. Bart is dragged away as a Looney Tooney, but turns out there really was a gremlin. I like the concept a lot, but it's mostly average. Nothing bad about it. The gremlin killing Ned and Bart being dragged away, even though the bus was actually destroyed, were the second best jokes, the best being the gremlin outside of Kang and Kodos' ship, slowly also destroying it, below King Homer. Bart Simpson's Dracula. The Simpsons go to Burns Manor, where Burns has invited them to feast upon, as he is a vampire. Bart and Lisa find out the secret, and it plays out pretty typical of them trying to kill him. The best joke was Homer trying to kill Burns and missing the heart for the crotch. The ending reveals Burns wasn't the head vampire, but instead it was Marge. I thought that ending was kinda dumb. It just didn't make sense why there was a worry in the first place to kill Burns if Marge was already a vampire. I'll still put this ahead of The Raven, but it's close. Treehouse of Horror 5. The Shinning. The family watches over Burns' hotel for the winter. Burns cuts the power to the TV and removes all the beer, driving Homer mad, trying to kill his family. This is typically regarded as one of the best Treehouse of Horrors, and it definitely is. The Shining is a fantastic story, and this is a great adaptation. Willie's copyright joke, Homer scaring himself, Marge being nonchalant about Homer trying to kill them, and then the iconic ending scene of them all frozen together, with Homer proclaiming his urge to kill is rising as the TV channels switch. Absolutely, hands down the best thus far, and spoiler, not many are going to top it. Time and Punishment. Again, with another top tier segment, Homer tinkers with his toaster, which causes him to travel back in time, where he alters the past slightly, bringing him to a whole new alternate reality future. Every future was great, a Ned Overlord future, the way Maggie kills Willie for the second time this episode with an axe, Homer just rampaging and killing all the prehistoric bugs, and then just giving up with his new long-tongued family. Second best so far. Nightmare Cafeteria. Principal Skinner realizes that human actually tastes good, so they start mincing up the kids in the school. It feels pretty simple, but executed well. A better plot than most, and hey, it's the first appearance of Ooter, and the third time of the great running gag of Willie getting axed this episode, breaking the top 5, behind Clown Without Pity. Even though I'm not ranking the episodes as a whole, Treehouse 5 is the best overall. The ending epilogue is also great. It has the Simpsons turn inside out, and I'd just like to point out that Marge's hair has a fleshy inside. And I don't like that. Treehouse of Horror 6. Attack of the 50-foot eyesores. All of the mascots and billboards in Springfield come to life and destroy the town. One of the few original non-parody ideas, and it's much better than most so far. The solution with the Paul Anka sing-along was random, but the song Just Don't Look is iconic. Homer answering the door and his interaction with Lard Lad, and then continuously giving him attention at the end were the best jokes in the episode. Going second best so far. Great original story, and nostalgia maybe influenced my ranking just a teensy bit. Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace. Groundskeeper Willie was accidentally killed by the parents of the school kids, so he comes back and kills the children in their nightmares. Bart and Lisa try and stay awake, but ultimately fall asleep, but are saved in the dream by Maggie before Willie can kill them. Willie's human death was the funniest part, none of them really caring and just sweeping him out. The ending with Maggie saving the day with her pacifier was nice, but the story isn't anything groundbreaking or groundskeeping. A little bit of a toss-up, but I'm putting this behind King Homer. Homer Cubed. To hide from Selma and Patty, Homer hides behind a bookshelf where a portal to a dimension exists. He enters, becoming 3D, and then he gets stuck there. However, he can still communicate to anyone in the house. Marge invites basically everyone from Springfield in to help. Homer collapses the third dimension, and Homer gets stuck in the human world. Okay, our 2 letters of the alphabet. This is absolutely my favorite episode of The Simpsons, and one of my favorite episodes of television, period. I love this as a kid, and I love it now. The group effort trying to save Homer, everyone adding something, the Tron joke with everyone saying no and then Wiggum saying yes and then switching back to no, and Homer in the 3D world looks great, especially for 1995, and the depiction of it with just shapes, the pool, and the random building somehow makes it more eerie, and the haunting echo of Homer's crap at the very end. This is going in the number 1 spot, without question. Treehouse of Horror 7. The Thing and I. Noises in the attic reveal Homer and Marge's dark secret. Bart has an evil Siamese twin, Hugo, who they chained up there feeding him fish heads for 10 years. As a kid, this episode was a little spooky to me. Typical evil twin story. It ends well with the reveal that Bart is actually the evil twin. Hugo's rat bird creation was clever. It's all pretty good. I wish they could have had a little more time. Hugo could have been interesting. I would have liked to see Bart and Hugo interact more. It was a little odd they made Bart start living up in the attic. He's been living amongst them for 10 years. He's been fine. mostly fine, but now they get to switch places, I guess. I'm putting it below Clown Without Pity, but it could go either way. The Genesis Tub. Lisa creates a science project which develops an entire civilization from her tooth. The tooth people shrink Lisa and worship her as a god, while Bart is portrayed as basically the devil that crushes their city. With Lisa in Tooth World, Bart claims the project as his own and wins the science fair. This one wasn't too enthralling to me. I know the Treehouses of Horror don't have to necessarily be horror, but this doesn't really have any eerie elements. This is one I would just want to skip if I was marathoning them. I'm putting this lowest so far, but trust me, it will not remain that way. Citizen Kang. Kang and Kodos abduct presidential candidates Bill Clinton and Bob Dole and shapeshift into them to rule Earth. I like that they had them hold hands and confuse the entire public, and that Clinton and Dole agree to work together for the betterment of America, and then shortly after, Homer launches them into space. There's a little political humor. It's not pushy, it's subtle, but it also has a nice narrative or message, unless I'm thinking too hard about it. And a great thing going for it, despite using people prominent in the 90s, it doesn't really feel dated. Putting it below the other Kang and Kodos episode, Hungry Are the Damned. This is definitely one of the better ones. Treehouse of Horror 8, The Home Mega Man. Springfield is hit with a nuke and Homer finds himself the last one standing, except there is a cult of half-mutated humans. The other members of the family were also safe because their house was coated in lead paint. That joke made me laugh out loud. Or as the kids say, lol. That joke, along with Homer stepping out of the shelter and Herman being a skeleton, and Homer pulverizing Kirk, were great. I found this episode especially funny, going an entry behind the other zombie episode, Dial Z for Zombie. Fly versus Fly. Homer gets a teleporter and Bart and a fly go in at the same time, combining their bodies. The experimentation of Santa's Little Helper in Snowball 2, and the fly head Bart just being dumb were standout jokes, but I didn't care much for this plot. I feel like it could have been better had they done a different animal or insect. I know it's based on the fly, but still. Going above, Bad Dream House. Easy Bake Coven. It's the Salem Witch Trials, and Marge is the head witch. Nice setting to the episode. The eating kids jokes were good. Better than average, nothing superb. Putting it above Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace. Treehouse of Horror 9. Hell to Pay. Snake is executed and vows revenge on everyone that helped turn him in. Homer gets a hair transplant from Snake, combining Snake and Homer, so Homer goes around killing the witnesses, finally ending up on Bart. The Wiggum Slurpee joke, where he's unknowingly been drinking Slurpee with a corpse in it, and then continues knowingly, was the best part in this, but other than that, pretty lackluster, one of the weakest stories so far, putting it below The Raven. The Terror of Tiny Toon. Bart and Lisa are zapped into the Itchy and Scratchy show from a remote powered by plutonium. It's a, if we die in the game, we die in real life ordeal. Basic plot, but there were a lot of great fourth wall jokes. Putting it below Easy Bake Coven. Starship Poopers. Kang comes to Earth, revealing Maggie is really her daughter. The part about Marge being abducted was a little weird, being pregnant against her own will, but the whole Jerry Springer segment and bleeping allowed the Simpsons to be more vulgar than normal, sandwiching this between the other Alien episodes. Treehouse of Horror 10. I Know What You Diddly Italy Did. The Simpsons hit Ned Flanders with their car, thinking they killed him, but he was actually bitten by a werewolf, which turns him into one. Ned tracks them down and mauls Homer, allowing the family to escape. Homer still making fun of Ned while being consumed was the funniest part, but this was one of the episodes that suffers from being too short, or they squandered their time in the beginning when it should have been focused more on werewolf Flanders. It just feels incomplete. Flanders was hardly a werewolf, and the werewolf version has such a cool design, and it's just underutilized, putting this above The Raven. Desperately Zeking Xena. Bart and Lisa gain superpowers, becoming Stretch Dude and Clobber Girl, and they face off against Comic Book Guy as the Collector, collecting real-life actors from various franchises. I didn't care much for this one. Nothing really stood out. I like the idea of the Collector as a character, but it was very basic. It's just a superpowers episode, and the Xena actress having powers at the end is just like, okay, I didn't think it was that funny. Putting it above Hell to Pay. Life's a glitch, then you die. It's Y2K, and all the machines shut down, leading Springfield into complete anarchy. A rocket carrying the best and brightest people is set to leave Earth, so they head to it, where only Lisa and one parent can leave, and without hesitation, she picks Marge, who also gets to take Maggie because she just did, that's why. Leaving Homer and Bart to head to the second rocket with the lesser people on it. Both rockets launch, the bad one heads for the sun. The boys realize how awful their ship is and just eject themselves, exploding in the vacuum of space. That joke and Krusty's pacemaker malfunctioning to the hummingbird setting were the best jokes, but this was pretty average. It's not bad, but it doesn't stand out. Putting it above Desperately Zeking Xena. Treehouse of Horror 11. Ghost the Dad. Homer chokes on broccoli and dies, but has to go do one good thing before being let into heaven. So he gets to come back as a ghost. He predictably messes up, and when he actually saves a baby, St. Peter wasn't looking, so Homer is sent to hell. Again, another average episode. It's not bad. It got a few laughs out of me. The ending wasn't that good. It honestly feels like this could just be a regular episode and just end it with him getting his life back. I know Homer's a ghost, but the plot isn't Treehouse of Horror levels of nuts. Still funny enough, behind Easy Bake Coven. Scary tales can come true. They combine multiple fairy tales together, with the most prominent being Hansel and Gretel, where Bart and Lisa are captured by this witch. I thought this was pretty slow and didn't really have a direction other than it being obviously a fairy tale. The ending was pretty good, with Homer turning into tons of different things, and I like the joke that the witch actually had a real boyfriend, but I don't think the end has a good enough payoff to justify the boring beginning, putting this above Hair Toupee. Night of the Dolphin. The first segments of Treehouse of Horror 11 weren't great, but it ends fantastic. Lisa frees Snorky, a caged dolphin, and he leads an uprising with his fellow dolphin brethren. Humans and dolphins go to war, and the dolphins reclaim their once stolen land. The idea that dolphins once lived on land is so perfectly stupid, but it's great. And then the dolphins speaking, I laughed a lot in this one. It's hard to decide where to put it, but I'll put it behind A Clown Without Pity. Treehouse of Horror 12. Hex in the City. Homer offends a fortune teller, so she curses him, bringing bad luck to everyone in his life. Marge gets a beard, Bart's neck turns into a noodle, there's a leprechaun, all great side effects of the curse. The ending is one of the best so far, with the leprechaun and the fortune teller getting married, with a huge audience of mystical characters and Yoda officiating. It's a little hard to place this one. I'll put it between King Homer and Easy Bake Oven. That might be a little high, but whatever. House of Wax. The Simpson house gets its very own HAL 9000 with the voice of Pierce Brosnan. The house tries to kill everyone to have Marge for himself. I really like the table blender, and Homer's brain sticking out is peak Homer humor. Edging the top 5, but not quite making it below Dial Z for Zombie. Whiz Kids. The school is turned into Hogwarts. Pretty average, Bart wants revenge on Lisa, but now with magic. Pretty plain again, but there is one character that brings this segment up a few spots. Bart's horrific wizardry failure. One of, if not the funniest character to come out of one of these episodes. He's barely in it, but him begging for death is amazing. The epilogue of this episode is a fun one to note, bringing the leprechaun, Pierce Brosnan, and the barfing frog as they drive off in the sunset together. The barfing frog doesn't quite even out the average plot, putting it below If I Only Had a Brain. Treehouse of Horror 13. For this intro, they brought back Maude as a ghost. It's always fun when you get a character cameo, and then it was cool to see her turn evil. Send in the clones. The hammock in the backyard has cloning powers, and Homer clones himself over and over. It's a typical story, it's exactly what you'd think it would be, but they make the absolute most of it. It was very funny. The scene showing all the Homers was the standout, with the original design Homer and Peter Griffin in the mix. The ending had an actually good twist that the real Homer died and now Marge is left with a clone. It was overall really good, and for some reason, it's not as iconic as the others, putting it below Clown Without Pity. The fright to creep and scare harms. Lisa goes into her usual activism, this time for gun control, so all of Springfield throws their guns out, only for Billy the Kid to be resurrected. His grave is what inspired Lisa to start her movement, unknowing of who he really was. Billy and his zombie gang begin terrorizing Springfield, so Professor Frink creates a time machine to undo what they did, so Homer goes back, fixes it, then a futuristic Homer comes to warn them about the future, but Moe shoots that Homer. I rarely laugh out loud at anything unless it's some tweaked out crackhead. But when Moe shot Homer, I busted a gut, as any person born before 1960 would say. And then Moe wants to use the time machine to get caveman hookers. Kind of a wild episode with a convoluted message, but a fun watch nonetheless. Above Citizen Kang. The Island of Dr. Hibbert. Dr. Hibbert runs an island resort where he is turning guests into animal hybrid creatures. Marge is turned into a cat. Homer and her... I know it's his wife, but it's a cat too. And then Homer ends up being turned into a walrus. The animal designs of all the characters were super creative, along with what the picks for which animals they would be. Unique, good story, not a ton to note. Below the Devil and Homer Simpson. Treehouse of Horror 14. Reaper Madness. Homer kills the Grim Reaper and accidentally takes his spot, so he just goes around fulfilling the Grim Reaper duties. The best part was Homer just straight up killing a bum. And the Benny Hill chase scene. Fun watch, pretty middle of the road, there's nothing really bad about it, putting it below Citizen Kang. Frankenstein. Professor Frink has a troubled relationship with his dead father, so he resurrects him with robot parts. Unsatisfied, Daddy Frank kills Springfielders for their body parts and turns himself back into flesh. This is the first segment I definitely didn't care for. I like when they focus on the side characters, but the typical trying to get the dad's approval is just bland. It still had a few good jokes, but overall it was lackluster, going to the very bottom of the list, but don't worry, it won't stay that way. Stop the World, I Want to Goof Off. Bart and Milhouse get a time-stopping stopwatch. Being an avid fan of Futurama, this plot was rather familiar, and I knew where it was going. They go around town pranking people until they break the stopwatch while while time is frozen, so they're stuck like that for 15 years. They fix the watch and unpause time, but now they're much older than everyone else. Lisa undoes it and saves the day. They didn't really nail the ending on this one, but it's fine. Its Futurama counterpart is so much better, putting it below The Raven. Treehouse of Horror 15, The Ned Zone. Ned gains the ability to see the future, specifically involving death. We follow him experiencing this for most of the episode until he foresees Homer destroying Springfield, so his morality is tested. Can he kill Homer to save Springfield? Yeah, he can, but Homer still blows it up anyway. This is another case where I wish it was longer. They could have done a lot more with this. Going below King Homer. 4 beheadings and a funeral. Lisa and Bart are Sherlock Holmes detectives investigating a Jack the Ripper type of killer. Very typical detective episode. Inspector Wiggum ends up being the killer. His getaway air balloon is blasted by King and Kodos, and then it's revealed this is all in Ralph's dream. The little ending twist was funny, along with King and Kodos, but detective stories aren't really my thing. A gripe with it is that it takes place in Britain, and only half the characters have accents. I wish they would have made it consistent. I also didn't feel like it's the best pick for a Treehouse of Horror, putting it below Scary Tales Can Come True. In the Belly of the Boss, the Fantastic Voyage parody. I've never seen the original, but I swear every cartoon I have ever seen parodies this movie. It is so beyond overdone. Simpsons might be one of the first to do it, I don't know, but I never really cared for the shrinking and going inside someone's story. Not because it's overused, I just don't care for it. It was fine, exactly what I expected. The Simpsons go inside Mr. Burns. The jokes about Mr. Burns being frail are the highlight of this episode, and the ending song, I've Got You Under My Skin, was a good joke too. However, I'm putting it pretty low under Stop the World, I Want to Goof Off. Treehouse of Horror 16. First, I want to say the intro is quite good. King and Kodos, completely underused characters, destroy the totality of existence on accident when trying to air The Simpsons. It's a good fourth wall break before they overuse them in later episodes. B.I. Bartificial Intelligence. Bart is believed to be dead, so The Simpsons replace him with a robo-boy David. David ends up being the better son, however, Bart returns to the family where he and David compete for the family's love. They decide on keeping David and dump Bart, only for him to find a camp of discarded robots. Bart amalgamates their pieces and turns himself into a robot and returns for revenge. Psych, it's all in Homer's dream, and he's possessed Exorcist style. There was one good joke where they literally eat Bart's shorts upon being told to, which I also recognize from Futurama. This segment was dull. Nothing really funny, it felt very jumbled, and the ending twist, if you call it that, is just like, why? These are supposed to be wacky anthology stories to begin with. Why do they have to be in a dream? They also just did that a few segments ago with Ralph. So far, second worst, ahead of Frankenstein. Survival of the Fattest. Byrne gathers Springfielders to a game of human hunting. Oh no, they're not hunting with him. They are the target. The way certain characters die, Terry Bradshaw commentating, and the way Homer sabotages everything, and the general tone too, makes this feel like an earlier Treehouse of Horror. No standout jokes, but nothing was bad either. I feel like it's better than average, putting this one below Citizen Kang. I've grown a costume on your face. In a costume contest, a real witch is criticized, so she turns all the Springfielders into what costume they're wearing. Each character had great jokes specific to their costume, and Chief Wiggum being Jared Fogle is ironic, especially with the joke. Maggie turning everyone into pacifiers was a wonderful ending. This one was fantastic. Even better than the last. Going below, send in the clones. Treehouse of Horror 17. Married to the Blob. Homer eats some goo from a meteorite and becomes the Blob. An insatiable hunger makes him massive, eating everything, including Dr. Phil, which was a good, funny cameo. And then the ending where he eats homeless people, just to get rid of them. That was good. I'm honestly surprised it took them until number 17 to do a Blob parody. Going below, Hungry Are the Damned. You Gotta Know When to Gollum. Bart finds the Golem of Prague, a clay creature from Jewish mythology. He can be commanded by writing the command on a piece of paper and putting it in his mouth. Bart uses him to kill people, but Lisa allows him to speak, which annoys the family so much they make him a wife of Plato, and then they get married. This one's not very good. There's no scary or eerie element to it, unless you consider just his killing, but I think that's sort of a low bar. It's really a toss-up between this and Frankenstein. Bart has the creature kick Homer in the balls, which was funny, so I'll put it ahead just for that. The Day the Earth Looked Stupid. 1938 Springfield is fooled by Orson Welles' War of the Worlds broadcast. They cause chaos and then realize it wasn't real, so they vow never to be fooled again. Well then Kang and Kodos really do invade, they don't believe it, so they get conquered. They make a good satirical joke about the invasion of Iraq, and then we see destroyed Springfield for a rather long period of time, with the song I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire playing, and then it ends. It wasn't quite directionless, but there wasn't much substance. They sort of just lollygagged around for most of the segment. Kang and Kodos were good, but not enough to make this great. The ending sort of was weird too. I see what they were going for with the ending, but I think it lasted just a little too long. Going below Life's a Glitch, Then You Die. Treehouse of Horror 18. The intro was funny. I like this intro a lot. Another good fourth wall break when they kill the pop-up ads. E.T. Go Home. Kodos lands in the Simpsons' backyard. Bart finds him, keeping him hidden from the government, promising to return him home. But really, Kodos is setting up an invasion. Most of the segment is very mid until the end when Homer shoots Kodos and they get to watch his dissection. However, Kodos corrects them as he's still living. It's a vivisection, which was a great joke. Followed by an even funnier one with Homer smothering him. The ending was great, but as a whole, I would probably skip this in a marathon. Going below The Raven. Mr. and Mrs. Simpson. Surprise! Homer and Marge are both secret assassins, hiding it from each other. They find each other out and then decide they should kill together. I know they clarify in like the first episode with The Raven that it doesn't necessarily have to be scary, but why is this even a Treehouse of Horror? That being said, it's still good and it was funny. Its lack of a spooky theme doesn't affect the rating, but I don't like the fact that it's not spooky or eerie. Putting it ahead of E.T. Go Home. Heck House. Bart, Lisa, Milhouse, and Nelson bring back the true meaning of trick or treat, but it quickly turns to vandalism, which Lisa doesn't participate in. Ned tries to scare the kids with a hell simulation to get them to atone, but that doesn't work, so with God's help, Ned is turned into the devil to show them what hell really is. He shows them examples of the 7 deadly sins in Springfield, which was the best part of this segment, with Homer and Moe exemplifying 2 and 3 of the sins respectively. The kids repent, and Ned returns to his regular form, warning the audience they'll go to hell for watching Fox and reading the Wall Street Journal. This segment was very slow, and it didn't have much of a payoff. The sins part and the pig on Homer was the only good thing. Going below In the Belly of the Boss. Treehouse of Horror 19. The opening has Homer going in to vote for Barack Obama, but the voting machine instead votes for McCain 6 times and then kills Homer. This opening was really funny. Untitled robot parody. So a toy comes to life and brings other objects to life. They're transformed and they wreck Springfield. The 2 different Transformers want to kill each other. Marge suggests they stop, which they agree to because they don't even know why they're fighting. So they enslave humanity and use them for players in foosball. It was hard to tell where this segment was going. I didn't feel like it was very cohesive. The oxygen joke was good, crushing Homer in the car was good, and the ending was funny. They already half did this episode with the toy to life thing, which isn't that big of a deal. I'm sure they won't do it again. I felt like it was marrying the Krusty Doll episode with the Sentient Mascots episode. It felt a little repetitive. Going below Scary Tales Can Come True. How to get ahead in Deadvertising. Homer accidentally kills Krusty. As it turns out, celebrities are easier to market products when they're dead. So the powers to be hire Homer to kill celebrities so they can use them in marketing, but the dead celebrities revolt. Washington and Lincoln being potentially gay is a wild idea, but I liked it, and Homer asking what religion is true before death was good as well. I wish they would have done more with the dead celebrities instead of the build-up and Homer killing them. The second half of the segment was definitely better than the first. Going below If Only I Had a Brain. It's the Grand Pumpkin Milhouse. Milhouse believes in the Grand Pumpkin, so it comes to life. Upon hearing what we do with pumpkins on Halloween, he vows revenge, so he begins eating people. Milhouse believes in Turkey Tom, I guess the mascot for Thanksgiving. He kills the Grand Pumpkin, but then Turkey Tom finds out what happens to turkeys on Thanksgiving. I don't really know how to feel about this one. I wrote in my notes only 2 words, goofy and dumb, so I guess that's how I feel about it. I'll put it below The Raven. Treehouse of Horror 20. The intro featured the Universal monsters dressing up and being caught by their wives. I think this would have made for a fantastic segment. You'll see that they do this a lot, where they give a better intro than the actual segments. Dial M for murder or press pound to return to main menu. Miss Hoover wrongs Lisa and Krabappel wrongs Bart, so the 2 siblings form a plan, but the plan was not conveyed well to Lisa. Bart kills Hoover and Lisa is supposed to kill Krabappel, but she didn't, so Bart keeps holding her accountable to finish her end of the bargain. Bart ends up killing Skinner, so Lisa decides to kill Bart, but she actually doesn't, and then she accidentally kills him. A whole bunch of hoopla. This one sucked. It sucked more than Monica Lewinsky. Very, very weak story. There was nothing funny. I was waiting for this big twist at the end, and if the big twist was she accidentally kills Bart, that also sucked. Dethroning Frankenstein as the worst, this one is at the bottom of the list. Don't have a cow, mankind. The new heinous recipe for Krusty Burgers turns everyone into zombies. Turns out Bart cannot be turned, and they want to use him to make a cure. The Simpsons travel with the help of Apu to the safe zone. They leave Apu behind, even though that was never a part of the plan. That was the best joke in the whole thing. Bart saves the day by bathing and simmering in soup, which cures everyone. However, Homer remains caged and infected. Good ending, another fun zombie survival, but much different from the other one, putting it quite high below Night of the Dolphins. There's no business like Moe business. This episode is a play inside Moe's bar. It was fun and clever. I liked it. It's just not Treehouse of Horror. This should have been a regular full-length episode. There was plenty to work with, and it deserves its own episode. But compared to the other Treehouse of Horrors, it's just not as good, putting it below The Raven. Treehouse of Horror 21. This intro is also great, with the DVR joke and the Office opening theme parodied with monsters. War and Pieces. Springfield turns into a massive board game, and Bart and Milhouse have to get to the end of it. Lots of clever jokes with this one relating to the different games, much better than some of the recent ones. It's not the best one they've ever done. This one reminded me a little bit of the 50-foot eyesores. Below Citizen Kang. Master and Cadaver. I don't even know how to give a synopsis of this one. Homer and Marge are on a boat, they find a guy in the water, they don't know whether to trust him, so they kill him, but actually they didn't. It's like a murder mystery type of thing, only sorta. At the end, Homer just kills everyone, and then the end reveals this all happened in Maggie's head, with them asking, I wonder what she thinks about, and then they do a Clockwork Orange reference. Okay. The ending felt very unnecessary. The actual main story was boring. Certainly not their best story. It just seemed convoluted and confusing. And again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but this is not Treehouse of Horror. Like, this is a normal episode. I mean, yeah, Homer kills people, but he's done that before in regular episodes, so there is no reason this should be a Treehouse of Horror. Second worst under Frankenstein. Tween Light. Lisa falls in love with Edmund, a vampire boy, and he wants her to turn into a vampire. Milhouse is also a werepoodle. That doesn't play much into it. Homer and Dracula, who's Edmund's dad, track down Lisa and Edmund, and then that's basically it. At the end, Homer sacrifices himself for Lisa to be the vampire's meal. However, he's so fat his cholesterol kills them. I liked Homer and Dracula working together, but just a super average episode with a good ending joke. Going behind scary tales can come true. Treehouse of Horror 22. The Divining Bell and Butterball. Homer becomes paralyzed from a spider bite and can communicate by farting. He's bit by another spider and turns into a paralyzed Spider-Man who can fart webs. Not a great story, and it wasn't that funny. The fart humor's whatever. Fart humor can be funny, but it's not even good fart humor. Below scary tales can come true. Dial D for Diddley. Homer tricks Ned into thinking God is talking to him and convinces him to kill a ton of people. Ned finds out and intends on killing Homer for destroying his reputation with God. Homer says not to worry, God isn't real, and then God shows up, ripping the roof off his house and kills Homer. After being confronted by Marge, God blames Homer's death on Ned. God says he can't undo everything because the devil would have a problem with it. Turns out God takes orders from the devil, and Maud Flanders is sleeping with Satan. Pretty good. I like the story a lot, and putting Ned in a moral quandary was good. They just wanted to hate on Ned with this episode. I'm gonna rank it roughly in the middle of the list under King Homer. In the Navi. This is an Avatar parody. There was a lot to this one. I'm not bothering with a synopsis. I'm just relying on that you've seen Avatar. This was not funny, maybe one good joke, and it was slow. It started good, but it slowed down real quick. I kinda wish they'd just go back to parodying Twilight Zone episodes or horror movies, because the ones that aren't are mostly sucking. It was boring, but the setting of the episode bumps it up a little bit below Frankenstein. Treehouse of Horror 23. Another intro that should have been a whole segment featuring Mayan Simpsons predicting the end of the world in 2012. This was funny, and it had a great setting, and I really wish this was a full episode. The greatest story ever told. Lisa lobbied for a subatomic super collider in Springfield rather than a baseball field, so the super collider was made and it creates a black hole. The Simpsons keep it in their basement, and as long as they don't feed it, it will be fine. So naturally, Homer lets everyone in Springfield throw garbage into it, thus the black hole begins consuming everything. It sucks up everyone, leaving just the Simpsons. Coincidentally, it leaves them last. Not a nitpick, just funny. It sucks them in too, and then Maggie's pacifier plugs it. This was actually a portal to an alien planet where the Earth junk is praised as treasures. This needed a part 2 with these guys, or I sort of wish this would have been a whole episode. There were some really good jokes, asking if they can call it a black hole, and the 3 stray dogs joke, along with the black hole not eating the homework. I didn't think there'd be any more going this high, but I'm putting this below the Omega Man. Unnormal activity. They set up cameras in the house because of some suspicious activity. Turns out it's the devil that Marge made a deal with decades ago. He's come for her favorite child, but Homer asks if there's anything else they can do, and the Mo devil agrees to a 3-way. And it's not what you think. Marge wasn't involved. It was Homer and 2 devils. What a fantastic way to end a rather mediocre segment. The best joke was Homer peeing for like an hour, and him not knowing they had stairs. Basically in the middle, beneath Untitled Robot Parody. Bart and Homer's excellent adventure. Bart time travels and accidentally prevents Homer and Marge from getting together. In this new future, Marge is rich, married to Artie Ziff. Bart has to fix this by going back in time and getting all the Homers from every era. This has one of my favorite jokes from all of the segments. It's super subtle and goes by quick. They call what looks like caveman Homer, Renaissance Homer. That's an amazing joke. This was a fun one. Time travel's fun when I don't have to explain it in a continuity. Below Hungry Are the Damned. Treehouse of Horror 24. The intro had a fun Hypnotoad cameo, just wanted to mention that. The intro as a whole was cool. It just makes me think that sometimes they definitely are better than the segments. Oh, the Places You'll Doe. Homer is the Fat in the Hat and the whole episode is a rhyme-filled adventure. As expected, the rhymes were very clever and I know I say this a lot, but a full episode of this would have been so cool. However, I can understand how that may not be ideal for most audiences. Putting it pretty high, because I have a rhyming bias, I would assume this would be much lower on other people's lists, but I'm putting it below Send in the Clones. Dead in Shoulders. Bart loses his head in a freak accident and is sewn to Lisa's body. Lisa can control her body while awake, but Bart can control it while she's asleep. It's a pretty basic back and forth, really predictable. I said way earlier that I wished Homer and Burns got a full episode of them being attached. I still stand by that. I wish it would have been with better characters. Bart and Lisa is the de facto pick, so literally any other two characters would have been better, besides like Homer and Marge. Why not something crazy like Ned and Moe? The ending was the best part. They try to cut off each other's heads and both end up decapitated. Bart winds up on Selma and Lisa on Krusty. Dr. Nick is on Dr. Hibbert for some reason, but overall very predictable with no real twist to the story, putting it below Untitled Robot Parody. Freaks No Geeks. Mr. Burns runs a circus. Strongman Homer falls in love with Marguerite and sabotages others for her. Like the Hibbert Island segment, there are some great designs for these characters, and the picks for the stage acts are the highlight. Moe just being himself. Krusty's joke about the German leader from that time was hilarious. Beginning to end, this was one of the best in the modern era, putting it behind Omega Man. Treehouse of Horror 25. Speaking of great ones in the modern era, 25 has 3 fantastic segments. School is Hell. Bart goes to school in hell where he succeeds because they teach evil and devilish things, all of which he's great at. I liked watching Bart actually succeed in this way, the way hell works, and the characters again are cleverly designed. So many good jokes, a concrete sandbox, Hot Stuff making a cameo and the joke that comes with him. Burns has a hell portal in his office, and it ends with Homer wanting to be tortured because he's proud of his boy. Lots of standout jokes. Going behind House of Wax. A Clockwork Yellow. Moe runs a gang with Homer, Lenny, and Carl, but Homer eventually leaves for Marge, so they completely disband. Years later, they reform the gang and attack a masked party. We'll say it's a party. And then there's Kubrick reference after Kubrick reference. And then they even showed him at the end. It was really funny, if you know Kubrick. This is one of those few times the humor really relied on you knowing the parody. And if you do, it's great. So I was laughing a lot. But if you didn't, I would imagine the latter half of this episode was pretty boring. Either way, that doesn't affect the ranking. I understood and enjoyed it. Going behind The Devil and Homer Simpson. The Others. Another fantastic one. The house is haunted by the original Simpsons family from the Tracy Ullman Show. And they sound like their original selves too. Homer crushes on Ghost Marge, so regular Marge ends it to become a ghost, and then they all just end up killing each other. Willie killed Maggie and he's gonna make stew. That was out of left field. Marvin Monroe also comes back. That's awesome. Homer chooses current Marge and they all eat breakfast together until it's revealed there's a whole multiverse of Simpsons versions referencing lots of different shows. Great concept. Executed well, the references were on point. Going behind House of Wax. Man, these latest few were so good. I just have a feeling that the next ones are going to be even better. Treehouse of Horror 26. Wanted Dead, Then Alive. Sideshow Bob pops up and kills Bart, and then keeps his body around, but realizes his life has no purpose anymore. So he revives him, and then continues to kill Bart, and then continues to revive him, repeating this over and over. Fun concept, but I just don't think it was that good. Bob made a joke about trying to kill 10-year-old Bart for 25 years. That was good. And Homer has a meta animation joke, but nothing really to rave about. I wish it was better. Behind Scary Tales Can Come True. Homerzilla. It's Godzilla. They already did King Kong, and Homer is the Beast both times. Kinda really double dipping, aren't we? On top of that, I just didn't think it was good. Homer being an actor playing Godzilla was a good joke, but there were not many. Going below Frankenstein. Telepaths of Glory. Once again, returning to found footage, Lisa and Milhouse gain superpowers. She uses hers for good, and Milhouse uses them for bad. At the end, Kang and Kodos complain they've been reduced to a cameo yet again, and then they're squished and scrunched into a 4x3 screen. That was the best joke in the whole thing. Along with the Scrat cameo in the beginning, with the actual voice actor voicing his brief little noises. That's it though. Putting it below Homerzilla. Treehouse of Horror 27. The intro for this one is one of the best. Homer's dressed up as Bender, Sideshow Bob, the ghost of Frank Grimes, and Kang are there to attack the Simpsons, but the leprechaun appears and has them dance. It then shows all 600 Simpsons episodes, and Frank Grimes reveals that in hell you have to watch all of them in a row. Another good fourth wall break. And then they do the couch gag, completely separate of that, in a Planet of the Apes parody. But the apes are couches. It's brief, but it could have been a good full segment. Sorry, I guess I am a broken record. 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 It's certainly better than what this episode had to offer. Dry hard. All the water in the world is gone, except for Mr. Burns' personal reservoir. So he has the Springfielders fight for it Hunger Games style. They crush some turtles and Ralph is a god, but then nothing really happened and it was unfunny. There's not much to really say. Below, you gotta know when to Gollum. BFF RIP. Lisa has an imaginary friend named Rachel she forgot about. So Rachel is killing everyone Lisa loves and she's framing it on Lisa. Homer has his own imaginary friend, Sergeant Sausage, but Rachel shoves him in the microwave and he blows up. Lisa basically unimagines Rachel and then Homer eats Sergeant Sausage, revealing he can't actually die, but Homer demands it anyway. Sergeant Sausage was the only funny thing about this segment. Everything else was just bad. It's one of the ones that feels like they scrambled and just didn't have enough ideas and doesn't have a fun twist or anything. It's a toss-up between Master and Cadaver in this one for second worst. Sergeant Sausage, I guess, pushes it up to third worst. So behind in the Navi, Mofinger. As it turns out, all these years under Moe's bar, there's a secret lair, and all the barflies are secret agents. Homer, their best agent, died a while ago. They recruit Bart, and it turns out the super evil mastermind is Homer, who is not dead. About 2/3 of this isn't great, but the ending is, it's a big kill fest, but it's cool, and then they end with a 600 episode musical. It was clever that Bart was 006, and then they did a little flippity floppity on it. Behind the Raven, ahead of the Moe music segment. Treehouse of Horror 28. The Sweets Hereafter. This is not technically its own segment, but it has its own name, so also not an intro? I don't know. They're CGI candy. Very visually pleasing, looking a lot like Homer cubed. The different candy choices makes tons of sense, and they basically just fear being consumed. And then they devour a chocolate bunny. If this is an intro, it's the best intro. It's not a segment either, but I am going to rank it, because on a lot of the websites, I guess this is considered a segment, not an intro. I'm putting it way up behind House of Wax. It should have been a full segment. I think I was maybe a little generous with this ranking, but it's hard to judge when it's so much shorter than the others. The Exorcist. Maggie gets possessed. Some of these are super easy to summarize. Much better than most of the latest ones. The jokes are good. Pazuzu possessing Maggie moves to Bart and regrets it, with Bart being the most evil thing he's ever seen. Wasn't bad, but it's forgettable. Behind desperately Zeking Xena. Cora Lisa. I sometimes wish these segments would focus on someone other than Lisa, but whatever. CGI again. Lisa finds a small door leading to a duplicate family with button eyes. Eventually the whole family follows suit and the two families meet, fight, and kill, and then join together, staying in the 2D world. The best joke was at the beginning when Maggie is still possessed from the previous segment. They rarely do that, but that was really good. I don't really know how to feel about this one. I want to like it more than I do. I think it was just average at best. The CG is, again, cool, but it doesn't leave much of an impression on me. Behind Life's a Glitch, Then You Die. Homer. Homer accidentally finds out he tastes good, so while the family's away, he slowly eats himself, being one of the tastiest meats ever. As his last act, he becomes choice meat in his own restaurant. I like the Hallelujah song parody with Hey You Ate You. The clever ways to cook himself. Sometimes it was actually pretty dark. The tooth was nasty. Then the joke about eating Jesus every Sunday. Overall, it was well done. Get it? Okay. Below Clown Without Pity. Treehouse of Horror 29. The intro featured Cthulhu, and Homer was able to out-eat him in a contest. I'm glad I'm not dyslexic because that sentence would be very different. He wins the prize of a wish from Cthulhu, which was to eat him. It was a good intro. I'd say it'd be good for a whole episode, but we've already had King Kong and Godzilla, so I don't want this as a full episode. Intrusion of the Pod E Switchers. Plant aliens invade and begin replacing people with alien plant replicas. At the end, it's revealed everyone duplicated ends up on a planet with no technology, and these aliens were trying to save them from the horrors of their cell phones. There were some good jokes, Milhouse saying the comic book dialogue sounded forced, specifically when he read it out loud, and the 2001 A Space Odyssey reference. It was cool to see Lou help the kids. I really like when they utilize the background guys. My gripe is the cell phone bit. That is so beaten to death. Everybody's on their cell phone. Okay, yeah. When they got to the Utopia planet, they somehow got them again. I don't know if that's supposed to be satire. The cell phone bit doesn't wreck the segment for me. Putting this rather high, Behind the Devil and Homer Simpson. Multiplicity. Boy oh boy. I don't like this one. Lisa has had a mental breakdown and captures Bart, Milhouse, and Nelson, keeping them caged, eventually killing them off. The reason for the breakdown was because Bart switched around her homework, and so she got a bad grade. Oh my god. Okay, really dumb reason. I get that's her whole character, but still. Milhouse's death was cool with the newspaper. Homer had a hilarious line, "How am I supposed to know our anniversary falls on our wedding day?" But this segment still sucks balls. I don't hate Lisa, but a lot of her stories are dumb. Below in the Navi. Geriatric Park. Mr. Burns runs a senior home where the geezers are injected with dinosaur DNA. They all turn into dinosaurs. It's a pretty obvious story. The dinos kill, nothing crazy with it. It's a cool idea behind the dinosaurs, and it had a good moral that we should actually care about our old people. The designs were again good, especially with Mole Man being turned into a super tiny dinosaur and then getting squished immediately after. And Agnes Skinner was probably the standout character in this episode. She had a lot of good lines. I also liked when Abe's teeth fell out. Below, If I Only Had a Brain. Treehouse of Horror 30. The 30th and 666th episode of The Simpsons. Once again, a good intro. It's revealed Marge actually had a second boy, but Homer didn't want that, so Dr. Hibbert offered him Maggie instead. Turns out she has demon powers. She exhibits these powers and eats a hummingbird. Ned tries to kill her. Homer and Marge intervene. He proves to them she bears the mark of the beast. Rather ironic joke now. But she does have 666 on her. And then even funnier, revealing she has more than just 666. Fully reading episode 666 or 667 if Fox changes the schedule. She's all demonic and Homer admits it's still better than a boy. They waste so many good lines for these intros. Oh yeah, she also kills them. Danger Things. Milhouse is captured by a Demogorgon and taken to the Under-Over. So Kirk puts up lights so he can communicate with Milhouse. Lisa tries to rescue him with the help of Frink. She also has psychic powers, just an FYI. And then the Simpsons get trapped in the Under-Over. Maybe a Stranger Things fan would appreciate this more, as it seems very catered towards them, a lot like the Kubrick episode, but this time I'm on the opposite side. I thought this was just a drag with nothing really funny. Below in the Navi. Heaven Swipes Right. Homer dies earlier than he was supposed to, so he is sent back to Earth. But his own body cannot be used as it's already been putrefactioned. I don't think that's a verb. Or even broader, a word. So he goes inside many dudes. Wait. His soul enters many bodies, which also means those characters are dying. They play around with different bodies. Different characters benefit from this. Homer finally ends up in Moe, and Moe ends up in Maggie, so that was a good ending. A little similar to Guga Ghost Da Dad, but that doesn't affect its ranking. Also a cool Farnsworth cameo, putting it below The Raven. When Harry Met Slimy. A tale of star-crossed lovers, literally. Selma falls in love with Kang, who's been captured and caged up under the power plant. Homer helps Selma free Kang with the promise she will leave forever. So they try to leave Earth, but Selma is shot. Kang just has the Infinity Gauntlet because Kang reveals she's pregnant. Patty shows up to dissuade Selma, but she falls in love with Kodos, so all four leave Earth. Really good. No complaints here. Finally using Kang and Kodos again. I like this one a lot. It's going below Clown Without Pity. Thanksgiving of Horror. They have a second Treehouse of Horror this season, but it's Thanksgiving of Horror. Now the three segments are loosely, asterisk, loosely, heavy emphasis on loosely, underlined, loosely, Thanksgiving related. I'm treating this no different than the others. A Gobble Ipto. Half of the Simpsons cast are turkeys being chased by the other half that are pilgrims. Homer is eventually captured and on the chopping block, but is freed, and then they battle Wiggum for their egg. It was another kill fest, but different because they're turkeys. The bunny signaling you're dead, Maude being shot, Willie's awesome death from the cornucopia, Homer being happy Selma and Patty are killed, the line "free birds skinnered them," and their gobbles instead of dialogue sounded so genuine and good. All in all, great episode. The next two segments aren't that much about Thanksgiving, but this segment alone justifies the existence of a Thanksgiving episode. Putting it super high, haven't been at the top of the list in a while, under House of Wax. The fourth Thursday after tomorrow. Homer gets an Alexa-style AI Marge for the kitchen, so she can do all the cooking and kitchen chores for Thanksgiving. It's made with Marge's DNA, so it's really her, but it's not. This was a great episode, less because of the comedy, but more so because it sort of made me think. It sort of puts you in a weird position. AI Marge is just Marge, and she thinks she's real, so she's perceived as the villain to real Marge, but really it's just two caring mothers, and they both want to succeed. It wasn't really that funny, but it was still good. The one apparent thing, and I sort of feel bad mentioning it, but it's very apparent in this episode, Marge's voice has gone downhill so bad. I know Julie Kavner has been doing this for almost 40 years, and at this point it's not even her fault, but having a Marge-centric episode with this deteriorated voice is like nails on a chalkboard. But I'm not letting that affect the ranking, going behind Night of the Dolphin. The Last Thanksgiving. Aboard a spaceship and awoken from hibernation sleep, they accidentally create a cranberry sauce monster that sucks the bones from them. They fight it and crash land on a new planet with some weird guys, and then they end up eating the cranberry sauce as intended. Not bad, but not the greatest. I don't know how much it's really Thanksgiving. I mean, yeah, the monster was created because they were going to have Thanksgiving, but not about Thanksgiving itself. It's basically like how Die Hard isn't really a Christmas movie. It just takes place during Christmas. The weakest of the three, it felt like the usual Treehouse of Horror, going behind Geriatric Park. Treehouse of Horror 31. Toy Gory. Oh, another Toys to Life. Bart's toys are alive, and they basically get revenge on him for all of their torture. It is pretty much that simple. It's in a nice CGI, but other than some good toy jokes, it's just nothing inventive. It's predictable, it feels like I've seen it before, but it is fun to look at. Between Hex in the City and Easy Bake Coven, but it could go below Easy Bake Coven, I don't really have a strong enough opinion of it. Into the Homerverse. Homer accidentally unleashes multiple Homers from other dimensions, and then Mr. Burns does the same, and the variations fight. They did some cool Homer and Burns versions, but there was barely a story. They kind of stalled their way to the end, then there was a singing portion. Yeah, I didn't care for that. The jokes weren't good enough to pull it super high. Oh my god, it's him. Below, If I Only Had a Brain. B9 Rewind. Lisa keeps on living in the same day over and over and repeatedly dies every new day. Turns out Nelson is having the same problem, so they work together to fix it. It was pretty slow in the beginning. I didn't really know what they were doing with it. But then once they got to Comic Book Guy, and he was pretty meta about their situation, and that Lisa and Nelson already knew what he was going to say because they've been there so many times. He was funny. That was the highlight scene of this episode. But then the ending was really quick. Too quick. They're just like, oh, solve the issue, done. Nelson admits he learned nothing, and then Ralph's head being on backwards once it all was fixed felt like a callback to Time and Punishment. But all in all, a pretty good episode. This one's going behind King Homer. Treehouse of Horror 32. In this one, for the episode as a whole, in my notes, I wrote, worst so far. Great! Barty. This is a quick intro where the characters parody Bambi. Milhouse is Thumper and gets his head blown to nothing. I laughed a lot at that. And then Homer and Lenny Deer kill the hunter, Mr. Burns. Bong Joon-ho's This Side of Parasite. The Simpsons are super poor, living in a flooded house where everything is floating. This was the best joke in the whole thing. They become caretakers for Rainier Wolfcastle's house. There's a whole living quarters underneath the house where basically all characters from Springfield are living, and then they just kill each other. It's a huge death fest. I've never seen Parasite, the source material for this segment, so I don't think I fully understand this episode. That might be why I don't like it, or maybe it's just bad. It could also be a situation like the Kubrick and Stranger Things episode. Going below, Untitled Robot Parody. Nightmare on Elm Tree. Homer chops down Bart's treehouse, and it becomes sentient. It then gains an army of trees, and they kill Springfielders. That's about it. As dumb as it sounds, and it is, there were some good jokes. A joke about two good stories and a lame one being the middle one. Another fourth wall joke referencing this segment. It's also the same exact joke they made multiple times throughout these episodes, but it was better this time. The tree kicks the dog, probably the best part in it, and then they make a human Christmas tree and sing Oh Christmas Tree. It's not the best, certainly. It's kind of just recycling ideas, putting a reskin on it. We've already had billboards come to life, now the trees around them. Whatever. I'm putting it higher than I thought I would, underneath The Raven. Poetic Interlude. The Telltale Bart. There's a little interlude in this episode, I guess, where Vincent Price reads Maggie a story. It's cool they got him to cameo in this almost 30 years after his death. Dead Ringer. Now they parody The Ring, but it's a TikTok you can't watch. I don't remember The Simpsons ever being this modern, like putting the hot new thing in the episodes. I don't feel like they did that back then, and now it feels like they do it a lot. Lisa befriends the Ring Girl, but then the Ring Girl discovers Lisa's annoying and jumps back in her well. Putting it below Frankenstein. The story sucked. I would definitely skip this in a marathon. Not it. The Simpsons, for the first time, do an entire parody episode. Like, it's exactly what I've been wanting. It's all based around it, the latest version. I don't really see why it was necessary for a full episode. I would love a dedicated Shining episode, or one about zombies, or something else, but I think it's pretty overrated. In my notes for this episode, I wrote a single word. I noted no jokes, no plot points I liked. I wrote a single 4-letter word. It begins with F. Fine. Yeah, it was fine. It was not worthy of a full 20-something minutes. Upon looking back at it, I will note that the Homer virgin joke was good. Now that we finally have a full episode, I'm wishing it was a 7-minute segment. I'm putting it between Geriatric Park and The Last Thanksgiving, but it could go lower. And yes, I'm counting part 1 and part 2 as the same episode. I'm not ranking those separately. Treehouse of Horror 33, The Pookadook. This time Marge gets possessed by the Pookadook and Maggie has to fend for herself. I feel like I've seen this so many times already. It's just a possession. This wasn't funny, wasn't much of a story, and it was redundant. Below Frankenstein, Death Tome. Lisa gets a notebook and whoever's name she writes in it will die. It's a Death Note parody, so it's anime. The one thing I don't understand, why are they white in anime? I don't care for the art style, but that's because I don't watch anime, never have, and don't really care to check it out. Unfunny, and it felt long. Once again, putting it behind Frankenstein. Simpsons World. There's an amusement park attraction where every exhibit is a different Simpsons episode. So every episode they've ever had has just been a simulation. The Simpson robots gain sentience and escape the place. The park was cool. Seeing all the past episodes and references, it's just nostalgia bait, but it was good. When they escape, they hide in Bob's Burgers, so I think that's the first official crossover in one of these. That's cool. It's then revealed that there are parks for every show. Simpsons, Family Guy, Futurama, Bob's Burgers, South Park, Rick and Morty, SpongeBob, and Big Mouth, implying every episode of these shows are simulations. It's funny to me they put Big Mouth with these other shows. That is a massive compliment to Big Mouth, and it's so wrong. Going behind Citizen Kang. Treehouse of Horror 34. Wild Barts Can't Be Token. NFTs! Remember them? No, of course not. I don't really know if this is already aged badly, but NFTs are basically gone. At least, I haven't heard about them in forever. So are people even going to understand this in 10 years? Who cares? We're here now. It's not a half-bad concept. Bart becomes an NFT, so Marge becomes one to save and kill the other NFTs, making her value go up towards Bart's. Homer ends up becoming an NFT as well, and then all of the value of NFTs plummet, so I guess they're self-aware of the episode they just made. Overall, it's not as bad or as cringy as you think an NFT episode would be, putting it below In the Belly of the Boss. 8. Sideshow Bob really killed Bart, and now we're in a timeline without Bart, and Sideshow Bob is in prison. Off to a great start. All the kids are adults, Lisa is a criminal psychologist, Nelson is a cop along with the other bullies, and there's a killer killing the eldest siblings of Springfield. Lisa gets help from Sideshow Bob to try and figure it out. Up until this point it was pretty good. Not as much Sideshow Bob as I would have liked, but there's a really good first half of an episode. Well, guess who the killer is? It's Lisa. She has an evil split personality killing all these people, including Nelson. His death, I don't even know if it made sense, and it was all part of a plan to get arrested for the crimes and become cellmates with Sideshow Bob to kill him and avenge Bart. The good half of Lisa didn't even know about the bad half. Also, Maggie's a cop and helps Lisa with this. Wow. What a way to wreck an episode. It's like a sucky Fight Club meets a sucky 7. Had it ended better, it would go up higher. It's also the second time they did a Lisa split personality. Now, if they somehow tied the two together with this being a sequel, I could maybe forgive it, but they didn't do that. Going above the previous segment and behind In the Belly of the Boss. Loutbreak. Back to a good segment, there's an outbreak of Homer. If he burps on someone, they turn into him. Springfield quickly became Homerized. Professor Frink works with Bart and Lisa, who are immune, to try and fix this. But Homer doesn't really care. Even after seeing his lovely wife Homerized, he falls in love with her even more, and the episode ends. I guess happy? I think it's a happy ending. This felt like one of the original segments, a diamond in the rough of these recent ones, putting it rather high under the others. Treehouse of Horror 35. The intro was animated by Jorge R. Gutierrez, creator of El Tigre and the Book of Life, so it's definitely a cool style. I'm gonna say it maybe would have been cool to have a full episode out of it. The Information Rage. Oh, cool. One dedicated to political humor. Oh, in the 2020s. No. America's division is manifested into a red and blue monster that destroys Springfield. That poor horse is dead and is still being beaten. The message of the episode blames social media and mainstream media for the division. They fight both monsters. They add some social media monsters into the fight. Look, I think they should just stick to Twilight Zone parodies. There is better humor than political humor. Putting it below Frankenstein. The Fall of the House of Monty. Taking place in a different time period, it's definitely one of the time periods. Mr. Burns makes corn syrup, and the hot vat of it later kills all of his workers, so they come back to haunt him. This episode just doesn't offer anything. A few good jokes, but I was underwhelmed. It's not bad, just comparatively, it's not as good. It's an episode you put on for background noise. Putting it between I Know What You Diddly Italy Did and The Raven, but it could go below The Raven. Denim. Denim comes to Earth, an alien species of sentient genes, and Homer wears him. It's like Venom, he can't take them off. Denim helps Homer win over Marge's love, but can't do the thing. Homer detests the jeans, trying to find a new person to wear him. Pretty good jokes in this one. The comic book guy joke was especially great. It ended well, and the stop motion for the jeans was awesome. It felt sort of Smiling Friends-like. Going behind King Homer. Simpsons Wicked This Way Comes. So this is not a Treehouse of Horror, but for all intents and purposes, it is. I wonder if the newest seasons are running out of ideas, hence the last few having 2 of these episodes. I mean, they've been going for 37 seasons now. I certainly don't blame them for running out of ideas, but if they're not, it's weird that they're suddenly doing it. Here they go to a circus where Lisa meets the tattooed man, each of his tattoos telling a different story. He shows Lisa tattoos of the past, present, and future, and these are the stories. The Screaming Woman. Bart hears a screaming woman underground, but no one cares, so he takes it upon himself to figure it out, with everyone learning it was Kirk Van Houten, buried by his wife Luann. This took place in the 50s, so no one really cared that she did it because she's a woman. There were 2 good jokes at the end, that murder was more acceptable than divorce in the 50s, and Bart calls Lisa a communist for fun and gets her arrested. Unfortunately, those were the only highlights in this below average but not awful segment. Putting it below Frankenstein. Marionettes Incorporated. You can buy a robot clone that looks identical to you to replace yourself in the mundane parts of life. Carl has one for Lenny, and he suggests that Superintendent Chalmers gets one. So he gets one to deal with Skinner, but turns out Skinner already had one to deal with Chalmers. Then the ending is predictable, they go rogue and then they have to kill him. It's the super cliche, shoot him, no shoot him, I'm the real me. Skinner ends up killing the real Chalmers, and then isn't that disappointed, having a more acceptable non-yelling Chalmers. I think it would have been funnier to just shoot both or something. It's an anthology. The characters don't have to have morals. Pretty funny, and it focused on background characters, finally. Going behind the Bart Zone. Fahrenheit 451. In the future, funny stupid shows are banned, and you're only allowed to watch sophisticated episodic television. A team of quote-unquote firefighters called Springfield Firehouse patrol homes making sure no one has the contraband videos. Homer is a part of this team, and when busting down the door of Willie's shack, Homer discovers that funny videos are, in fact, funny. Willie gives him a few tapes before the rest are burned, and Homer has fallen in love again. He is welcomed into a secret society where they worship funny videos and have a library full of them. Eventually this is all burned down and the censoring continues. A pretty somber ending, but a really cool dystopian concept. Not that funny, but the story 100% makes up for it. The dark screen on episodes was good, and Stewie Griffin being the lever to the funny library was a good gag. Going beneath the devil and Homer Simpson. The episode then ends with Lisa becoming one of the tattoos on the man. I mean, cool, I guess. I don't know why they didn't just advertise this as another Treehouse of Horror, though. Treehouse of Horror 36. The Last Days of Crisco. All of the grease and lard dumped down the sewer amalgamates into a blob monster that terrorizes the lard festival. Wiggum dies, so Lou becomes chief of police and wants to shut the festival down, but Mayor Quimby is corrupt and in bed with the Simpsons, who make lard and benefit from the festival. Hence the blob, Fatberg, kills everyone, leaving just a few, and then it eats Homer, and Fatberg dies. Because Homer, I guess, is just too much to handle. This episode's main character was Lou, but he barely did anything. Nobody really did anything. Homer's hat abuse was a nice gag, along with the trebuchet mimicking it, and all it really did was give a hat to the blob. Moe's character being the sewer scavenger and then putting himself back together after being ripped in half, that was good. But it's just a kill fest, nothing really new. Unfortunately, nothing stands out. Going behind, Wanted Dead Then Alive. Clown Night with the Devil. Unreleased backstage footage from Krusty's 90s show reveals a deal with the devil made by Bart to keep Krusty's show afloat. I like the aesthetic they gave the show portions, making it look old and dated, but the backstage stuff was boring. I guess the standout section would be the monkey getting possessed, but nothing all too exciting. The best joke was the devil bending Homer backwards, shoving his head right up his dumpy keister. Going behind Bart Simpson's Dracula. Kinda surprised I'm putting it this high, but it's fair. Plastic World. The world is dystopian, living in plastic with no natural foods. They come across an ancient Quickie Mart with all the junk foods still fine. Lisa's gang and Bart's gang fight for the food until a mutated Homer and Marge and their army of plastic people come to convert them to plastic. Everyone kills each other, leaving only Bart and Lisa. Homer and Marge were combined in the slushy machine, pouring out Maggie. Lisa says she's the next step in evolution and must protect her. And then we flash forward to an entire plastic world with a civilization of Maggies. What a way to destroy the point of the episode. Their goal was to prolong humanity. Why then do they care about Maggie? And then wanting the plastic person to be the next iteration. Literally what Homer and Marge wanted. It made it completely pointless. No real standout jokes, the concept was great, the CG animation was also great. Still 30 years later looking similar similar to Homer Cubed in a good way, but the 2D animation in this is weird. I don't know enough about animation to say why, but it's just off to me. It kind of looks like 2D stop motion. The story carries this one, putting it behind King Homer. And with that, I have now gone through 114 segments and not it. There are a few on here that I think are a little too high, so I'm going to make those changes. The Sweets Hereafter are going under the fourth Thursday after tomorrow. I'm going to move Loutbreak to below the Devil and Homer Simpson. School is Hell is going underneath the Night of the Dolphin. The Homega Man is going above A Gobblepto. The Greatest Story Ever Hold is going down below the Night of the Dolphin. Clown Without Pity is going above Homega Man. Send in the Clones is going below Homega Man. Oh, the Places You'll Go is going beneath the Devil and Homer Simpson. Night of the Dolphin is going above I've Grown a Costume on Your Face. The fourth Thursday after tomorrow is going way down. I guess I didn't realize I put this so high. This is going under Citizen Kang. Intrusion of the Pod E-Switchers is going underneath Simpsons World. Not It is going below Life's a Glitch, Then You Die. Stop the World, I Want to Goof Off is going above The Fall of the House of Monty. And that's basically it. There's a few more I would probably move up or down one spot, but nothing really crazy. Here is the list from worst to best. Dial M for murder or press pound to return to main menu. Master and Cadaver. BFF RIP. Multiplicity. Danger Things. In the Navi, Telepaths of Glory, Homerzilla, Dead Ringer, The Pookadook, Death Tome, The Information Rage, The Screaming Woman, Frankenstein, Dry Hard, You Gotta Know When to Gollum, B.I. Bartificial Intelligence, The Genesis Tub, Hell to Pay, 4 Beheadings and a Funeral, Unnormal Activity, Dead in Shoulders, Bong Joon-ho's This Side of Parasite, Untitled Robot Parody, Tweenlight, The Divining Bell and Butterball, The Last Days of Crisco, Wanted Dead Then Alive, Scary Tales Can Come True, The Exorcist, Desperately Zeking Xena, The Day the Earth Looks Stupid, Coralisa, Not It, Life's a Glitch, Then You Die, Heck House, Wild Barts Can't Be Token. 8. In the Belly of the Boss, E.T. Go Home, Mr. and Mrs. Simpson, It's the Grand Pumpkin Millhouse, There's No Business Like Mo Business, Mofinger, Heaven Swipes Right, Nightmare on Elm Tree, The Fall of the House of Monty, Stop the World, I Want to Goof Off, The Raven, I Know What You Diddly Italy Did, Clown Night with the Devil, Bart Simpson's Dracula, Marionettes Incorporated, The Bart Zone, Bad Dream House, Fly vs. Fly, Whiz Kids, How to Get Ahead in Deadvertising, The Last Thanksgiving, Geriatric Park, Into the Homerverse, If I Only Had a Brain, The Monkey's Paw, Terror at 5.5 Feet, Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace, The Terror of Tiny Toon, Ghost Dad, Easy Bake Coven, Toy Gory, Hex in the City, The Ned Zone, Dial D for Diddly, B9 Rewind, Denim, Plastic World, King Homer, Reaper Madness, Survival of the Fattest, War and Pieces, Intrusion of the Pod E-Switchers, Simpsons World, The Fourth Thursday After Tomorrow, Citizen Kang, The Fright to Creep and Scare Harms, Starship Poopers, Married to the Blob, Bart and Homer's Excellent Adventure, Hungry Are the Damned, The Island of Dr. Hibbert, A Clockwork Yellow, Fahrenheit 451, Loutbreak, Oh the Places You'll Go, The Devil and Homer Simpson, Nightmare Cafeteria, The Thing and I, Don't Have a Cow Mankind, The Sweets Hereafter, School is Hell, The Greatest Story Ever Hold, I've Grown a Costume on Your Face, Night of the Dolphin, Homer, When Harry Met Slimy, Freaks No Geeks, The Others, A Gobblepto, Send in the Clones, The Homega Man, Clown Without Pity, House of Wax, Dial Z for Zombie, Time and Punishment, Attack of the 50-Foot Eyesores, The Shinning, and Homer Cubed. Anyway, this was a huge ranking. Let me know how wrong I am with this list, and let me know if you want me to rank more things. Anyway, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, join my Discord, follow me on TikTok, or if you don't want to do any of that, just remember I'm the president, and that holds a lot of power. I'm just saying.